Hi, I'm Tasso, and thank you for joining me on this short video around resilience. At the moment, we're all undergoing lots of strains and stresses as we cope with the coronavirus restrictions, and it's obvious when we look around us that some people seem to be coping better than others. They seem to be more resilient. So I thought it would be worthwhile having a think around what is resilience and looking at four strategies for coping and developing your resilience, one of which is one of my favourites. So first of all, what is resilience? Well, Harvard Business School some years ago defined it as people or organisations that have three things. One is the ability to face reality. Second is to find meaning in difficult and challenging times. And the third is around improvising or innovating new strategies to cope with stress and with adversity. In some ways, it's around being able to recover quickly from a setback, or if you think about a bouncing ball, the ability to bounce back with energy. Of course you go down, but the ability to come back up again, to bounce back, is really important. There are two types of aspects of resilience. One is around the strength of the adversity that you're facing, and secondly is how you adapt, or the immensity of the adaptation you need to make. And right now it's quite a big adaptation. Okay, so the American Psychological Society offers 10 different strategies for building your resilience, and I'm going to focus on just four. So the first one is regulation. The first thing we need to do is really take control of our emotions and increase our self-awareness to not let our emotions just kind of take over and drive us. And I did do a little video previously around the type of emotional changes you go through in a time of great change. And there is a nice technique developed by Timothy Galway in his book, The Inner Game. It's a sports psychology piece. And the technique is called STOP. So an easy way for you to remember this. And it says, first of all, you step back, then you think, then you organise your thoughts, and you only proceed when you thought about the best option. It's a little bit like grounding to begin with, but just giving yourself time to stop and think rather than reacting immediately. Okay, so that's one technique, which is regulation, regulating your emotions. The second one is reframing. Here's a photo I framed of Bert, my dog. Now, he can be a bit of a pest at times, always hustling to play, which is quite negative behaviour. So I can reframe him as being alert and playful, putting a much more positive perspective on what I previously saw as a negative behaviour. So right now people are seeing things in very negative terms, and that's quite justified when you look at the loss of life, and all the other losses that people are facing and the impact on their work and home lives and their families. But some people, with their resilience, are taking the opportunity to reframe the negativity in the current situation into something more positive, an opportunity to perhaps to reconnect with family members and long lost friends digitally, time to reflect on what's important to them in their life and what they want from the future, perhaps time to develop new skills or explore new areas of knowledge. So in reframing, I have a particular story that's very important to me. Many years ago, I was working with a board on a firm, and we had a 12 people there, and it was very effective, and we were making massive changes and seeing really incredible improvements on our profit and our reputation. But there was one individual that I started to jar with in that group, and that initial difficulty between us in that relationship became more intense, and it grew into a conflict, and other people could see this conflict between the two of us, and it was impairing the effectiveness of that team. So I stepped back and I thought about, how can I reframe this very negative label I've put on this person as being difficult? So then my filters only really accepted and reinforced my views of him as being difficult. And I tried to find a more positive explanation for that behaviour. So I created the label that he was just super creative. So he didn't really change to begin with, but I changed my view and my attitude and my frame of how I saw him. And then that changed the way I approached him and interacted with him. And then that in turn impacted how he responded to me. So we resolved the differences, and the team then went on to even greater successes in time. So the next area around the techniques, we've looked at regulation and reframing. So the third area is relationships. And here I'm a memory of the famous English poet John Donne, who said, no man is an island. We'll adapt that to no man or woman is an island. Neuroscientists know that we are wired to connect with other people. You know, it comes from our early mammalian dependency on other people and our tribal beginnings. We really need to connect with other people, and there's some value in that saying that a problem shared is a problem halved. So one of the things you might do is make a list of all the people you've known or fallen out of touch with, and go through all those different people, and maybe, you know, even if you're not a member of the four tops, reach out and talk to them and connect. And even if you're not going to share your front of mind worries, the fact that you're connecting with people makes you feel more supported and more connected. So sharing really is caring. It's caring for yourself. So the fourth area is around reflecting on realistic goals. So reflection is a really important part of how we learn. So that's, you know, important that we look back and think about what's happened before. And being realistic takes some self-care too. We can't be over demanding of ourselves in difficult situations. You know, we do need to rest, and we do need to relax, and we certainly need sleep, because otherwise we're not very creative if we're feeling very stressed and very strained. And also, if we are in this place of realism, we can avoid the problems of distorted thinking, where people might catastrophize or overgeneralize or personalize or see everything in black and white, you know, awful and good. So having that reflection and being realistic can overcome those problems. And also have a realistic small goal. So I'm reminded here of the Chinese saying, which is, the journey of 1,000 miles starts with a single step. Just take that first small step and you're on your way. And while we're looking at some Eastern philosophy, I wanted to mention a Japanese art. This is called Kintsugi, and it's where they repair broken ceramics with beautiful gold joins. And often the finished item that's been repaired is more beautiful than the original item. So even though we might feel broken, when we come back together again, we are stronger and more beautiful people. I thought it's just a lovely idea. So those are our four areas: regulation, reframing, relationships, and realistic reflection. And you know I like threes, okay? There's a more recent piece of research around the adaptive third, and it says, and it relates to resilience in a big way, that a third of people in all kind of populations, whether that's from studies of organizational psychology and business or studies of trauma and abuse victims, a third of people adapt faster. And there's a simple difference between those who adapt faster than those that don't, and it's that the third that adapt, they say, okay, that's happened, what do I have to do going forward? What's the meaning going forward? Whereas the majority who don't adapt so quickly spend their time looking back in the past and wondering why this happened and why me, and focusing on the past. So just having that forward view, and that supports a couple of the other ideas in the American Psychological Society's Association's views around taking a long-term perspective and finding some meaning and really expecting good things. And we know in positive psychology that it's those people who do this mental contrasting, balancing the positive with a realistic view of some of the barriers or the problems, are the ones who are most successful. So lots of ideas there, but one final thought, and my business is called Red Star Kim, so stars are really important. So there's a little inspirational saying that means a great deal to me, and it comes from the British Royal Air Force, the RAF, and there was the RAF Association just across from where I lived for a long time. And the saying in this beautiful emblem is per ardua ad astra, and in Latin that means through adversity to the stars. And I like to think about, you know, us all as pilots of our planes in life, and while mostly it's blue skies and sunshine, we do have to have the ability to both fly and land when there are storms. Anyway, I hope those thoughts on resilience are helpful to you. Thanks for watching and listening.